Welcome to Hypersphere. My name is Kacper and I'm the author of SQLSeal. Today I'll guide you through the basics of the plugin, how to install it, and how to perform basic operations. Let's dive in. SQLSeal is an Obsidian plugin that allows you to query data in your vault using SQL syntax. You can access this data using three built-in tables: files, tags, and tasks. You can also use this plugin to query data stored in the CSV files. SQLSeal provides the special syntax to create new tables based on the data sources and synchronizes them automatically. If you're new to SQL, don't worry. SQL is easy to learn and get started. Although this video is not an SQL tutorial, I hope after watching it you should get some basic understanding of the language. It is an industry standard, meaning that what you learn can be applied in other places too. Finally, because it is a popular language, there are many resources available already. I highly recommend SQL Vault, which is an interactive tutorial available online, but also consider subscribing to this channel. I have more videos about SQL and SQLSeal coming soon. Let's start with the installation process. I highly recommend you start by using my SQLSeal demo vault, which is linked down below in the description, but you can also install the plugin directly in your own vault to get started. To install it, open Settings, go to Community Plugins, and from here you can install it and enable it. I have it already installed, so I will skip this step. Once the plugin is installed, you can start querying the data. Let's start by querying our files table. To create a query in SQLSeal, simply create a code block, use SQLSeal as a language, and here you can start writing your query. Let's start with the most basic query in SQL. Let's select all columns from files. Now, as soon as we click away, we can see that we get a list of all files in this vault with some interesting information like path, name, ID, and all our properties. We can do the same with tags. Let's create code block and select all from tags. As you can see, we have two tags, each of them assigned only to one file, which corresponds to the information in our vault. Let's move on to a more practical example. Let's assume that we are marking some of our files with to do in the name to indicate that we want to edit them later. So, to select all of them, we can write the following query. We need to add where clause, in which we filter the files by name to match our pattern. And we get properly filtered list of files. But what if we want to include also nodes which are tagged with to do? Well, to do that, we need to write slightly more complex query. To do so, we will need to join files and tags tables. We need to specify which columns match between our tables. Then we can filter the data based on either of our two cases. Sometimes we might want to write an inline query. So, in this example, we want to have an inline text saying my vault contains some number of files and some number of tags. It would be great to have those values not hard-coded, but actually being calculated. We can do it by creating an inline query. The inline query starts with a single backtick and then follows with a s and greater than sign. This indicates that this is an SQLSeal query. After that, you can write any query you want. For example, in our case, we're just gonna select count from files. And as you can see, we get the value we want. We can do the same for tags, with the difference that we need to get rid of the duplicates. That's why we write distinct tag. The plugin allows you also to use any CSV file you might have. We're going to use the expenses file as an example. Thanks to SQLSeal, you can preview the file, edit individual values, add new rows and new columns. We can also generate query to get started. let's copy this query and paste it in our node. We have a new thing here. The first line is a special syntax that allows us to link the CSV file and expose it as a SQL table. So, using the syntax, we create a new table expenses and relinking that to the file data expenses.csv. Thanks to that, we can later query our table. Let's see if it works by reducing our limit to 10 elements for now. And we can see our data from the CSV. Now, let's analyze this data. We want to aggregate them. For each date, we want to have sum of all expenses that happened that day. So, let's select date and the sum of amounts. Let's get rid of the limit, and we need to group by date, and let's just order by date to make sure everything is in a chronological order. And just like that, we get our processed data. We can also give a nicer name to this column. To do that, we can type as amount to change the name to amount. Now I want to show you something cool. All the tables in SQLSeal are live and get updated when the underlying data changes. To see that in action, let's open side by side our original data and our query, and let's modify the first row. We're gonna add 100 here, and let's observe the corresponding query. The data got updated automatically. Yay! Live updates work for both CSV files and for all our built-in tables. Great! The last thing I want to showcase is how you can change the views. SQLSeal has 3 built-in views at the moment. The first one is grid, which corresponds to this view. The second one is HTML, which renders everything as a simple table. And the last one is Markdown, which is very handy if you want to copy the table and paste it somewhere else in your vault. There are more views and more functionality coming to SQLSeal soon, so make sure to subscribe to this channel so you can see all the updates. That's all for this video, but there's so much more you can do with the plugin. I want to share more information in the upcoming videos, so make sure to like this video and subscribe for more. Also consider joining my newsletter, where I share more information about my projects, creative coding and technology. Take care and happy querying!